Struggling mechanic fixes woman billionaire's car suddenly. Her daughter hugs him and calls him dad. Jackson Cole wiped the sweat from his brow, smearing oil across his forehead. The afternoon sun beat down on his rundown auto shop on the edge of Los Angeles. Once a proud Marine, and now a struggling mechanic, Jackson had seen better days. His rent was overdue, the bank kept calling, and his tools were falling apart, just like his spirit. He was about to close early when a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up in front of his garage, its engine sputtering unnaturally. The doors opened, and out stepped a tall woman in a crisp white blazer and dark sunglasses. "Can you fix this?" "I don't have time for games," she said, her voice commanding, laced with the tone of someone used to snapping fingers and making problems vanish. Jackson squinted at the hood. "I can fix anything, ma'am. Just give me some time." Her name was Celeste Harrington, tech mogul, billionaire, and the CEO of Harrington Industries. Known for her icy demeanor and scandal-free empire, Celeste was not someone who usually rubbed elbows with mechanics. But the car had broken down on her way to a private event, and this shabby garage was the only option nearby. She agreed to wait inside the shop while Jackson worked. Her 6-year-old daughter, Ivy, trailed behind her, clutching a stuffed giraffe, and peeking curiously at the tools and car parts. Jackson noticed the girl staring and offered a gentle smile. "Want to see how I fix the car?" Ivy's face lit up. "Mommy says cars are dirty and loud, but I like them." Celeste raised an eyebrow but said nothing. For once, she let her daughter be a kid. As Jackson lifted the hood and got to work, Ivy stood nearby asking questions. "Do you have kids?" she asked. Jackson paused. His jaw tightened. "No, not anymore," he muttered, his voice low. It took 2 hours and some creative fixes, but he managed to get the Rolls-Royce purring like new. Celeste stood and watched, arms crossed, clearly impressed but unwilling to admit it. "How much?" she asked. Jackson hesitated. "Ma'am, someone like you could pay thousands, but I know struggle, and I won't overcharge. Just $450. She raised a brow. "Fair. You'll be hearing from me." She handed him her card and a thick wad of bills, as Celeste and Ivy prepared to leave. The little girl ran back to Jackson and hugged him tightly. "Bye, Daddy," she chirped happily. The garage went silent. Celeste froze. Jackson stood still, stunned. "Ivy," Celeste said sharply, but Ivy just smiled and said, "He feels like my daddy, I can tell." Celeste glanced at Jackson again, her expression unreadable. Ivy, in the car, now. The next day, Celeste returned alone. Jackson stepped out, wiping his hands nervously. She handed him a sealed envelope. "I did a DNA test. I had to know," she said quietly. Jackson's heart dropped. "What are you talking about?" Celeste's eyes welled up not with weakness, but with something long buried. 7 years ago, I used a donor, anonymous. Ivy's father was a Marine who loved classic cars. I thought it was coincidence when I saw you, but Ivy knew." Jackson opened the envelope. The results were conclusive. He was Ivy's father. Celeste didn't demand anything. She didn't threaten him. She simply offered a seat. "Ivy needs a father, a real one, but I don't want a scandal. I want truth. If you want to be in her life, you'll need to clean up, show up, and never disappear again." Jackson felt tears sting his eyes. "I won't, not again. I never even knew." She nodded. "I believe you. Absolutely." Here's a longer continuation of the story, adding more romantic tension, emotional depth, and a slow build of trust and love between Jackson and Celeste. All while Ivy becomes the bridge between two very different worlds. It started with a dinner, casual, or at least that's what Celeste called it. She showed up at the garage in jeans, of all things, and asked Jackson to join her and Ivy for dinner at a quiet Italian place on the west side. Jackson hesitated. His hands were still stained with grease, and his shirt had a hole near the collar. "I don't exactly fit your world, Celeste," he said, brushing dust from his jeans. She looked him dead in the eye. "My world is built on people who know how to fix what's broken. I'd say you fit it better than most." So he said yes. Dinner was awkward at first. Jackson didn't know which fork to use. Celeste didn't know how to talk to someone without a net worth. Ivy was the glue laughing drawing on the paper tablecloth, handing Jackson breadsticks like they were currency. After dessert, Celeste pulled Jackson aside while Ivy colored. "She's so happy with you. You ground her," she said. Jackson studied her. "And do you need grounding too?" She flinched slightly then nodded. "Maybe I do." The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was charged. Jackson lay awake that night, thinking about Ivy's drawing. My daddy. He never thought he'd get a second chance. He looked at an old photo on his nightstand, of a woman from years ago, Ivy's biological mother, a donor egg, a surrogate, a private process. Celeste had kept that world sealed and sterile, but now that Ivy had chosen him, something inside Celeste had started to thaw. Over the next few weeks, Jackson visited their estate in Malibu. Ivy insisted. He helped her build a go-kart in the driveway. He patched up her scraped knee when she fell. He showed her how to use a wrench, and Celeste found herself watching them, eyes wide with emotion she didn't understand or had long suppressed. One night, after Ivy had gone to bed, Celeste brought Jackson a glass of wine. You're changing everything, she said softly, standing by the balcony overlooking the ocean. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? He asked. She turned toward him inches away. It's terrifying, but it's also ... something I don't want to lose. And for the first time, she kissed him slow, unsure. But real ... the media found out. A billionaire CEO seen holding hands with a grease-stained mechanic. The headlines were cruel. From junkyard to penthouse, Harrington's latest fixer-upper. Board wasn't pleased. Investors grew nervous. Paparazzi followed them everywhere. I can disappear again if I'm causing this, Jackson said, ready to walk away for her sake. But Celeste grabbed his hand. You walked back into my life for Ivy. But now I want you to stay for me too. They decided to fight together. Celeste released a statement the next day. Jackson Cole is not just the father of my child. He is a war hero, a brilliant mechanic, and the man who taught me what love really looks like. If that costs me investors so be it. I build things from the ground up. That's what we're doing here. The public responded with surprising warmth. Months passed. Jackson opened a new garage, Ivy & Co. Auto, with the little girl's drawing proudly framed in the lobby. Business boomed, thanks to Celeste's quiet backing and Jackson's now viral story. One day, Ivy asked, "Can we all live in the same house now?" Celeste blushed. Jackson grinned. "What do you think, Celeste? You want to try a real family?" She laughed through her tears. "I thought I was too cold for that, but I was just waiting for the right mechanic to fix the engine." Absolutely. Here's part 3 of the story, diving deeper into family bonds, hidden trauma, and healing. You'll see Celeste facing her past, Jackson learning to step into fatherhood, and the three of them forming an unbreakable bond. Life was calmer now on the surface. Jackson had moved into the guest house behind Celeste's Malibu estate, at Ivy's insistence. She'd run out barefoot every morning just to eat breakfast with him. It was perfect. Almost. But Celeste had a room in the house no one went into. Jackson noticed it the second week, a door always shut. Ivy avoided it. The staff wouldn't speak of it. One night, after putting Ivy to bed, Jackson asked gently, "What's behind the blue door?" Celeste paused mid-step. "That was supposed to be the nursery. Before Ivy, before the plan, before I gave up on love entirely." She sipped her wine. "There was someone once, a man. He left before I could tell him I was pregnant. I shut that door and never opened it again." Jackson took her hand. "Maybe it's time." Ivy was in Jackson's arms as they watched cartoons one morning. Suddenly, she turned and asked, "Are you staying forever now?" He paused. "If your mommy wants me to, and if you do too." She looked serious for a moment. "If you leave, I'll find you. I always do." Jackson smiled. "I'm not going anywhere, sweet girl." Celeste, watching from the hall, had to step away. Her chest ached, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was hope. The call came late at night. Jackson's new garage was on fire. He sped across the city in his truck, heart pounding. When he arrived, flames tore through the roof. But by morning, the fire had been put out, and someone had scrawled the words "Gold Digger" across the blackened brick. Reporters swarmed the scene. Celeste showed up, barefoot and furious. She grabbed a microphone from one of the cameramen and spoke directly to the lens. "This man saved my life. He saved my daughter's joy, and he built this business from nothing. If you think this will break us, try harder." The video went viral overnight. The nation rallied. Donations poured. Ivy & Co. was rebuilt, bigger, stronger, with community support and Jackson's old Marine brothers showed up to help. Ivy had a school play. Jackson showed up in a buttoned shirt and tightward and nervous. The teacher asked him, "Are you Ivy's guardian or?" Jackson looked to Celeste, who nodded gently. "I'm her father." During the final bow, Ivy spotted him and yelled from stage, "That's my daddy. See him? That's him." The auditorium laughed. Jackson cried. One evening, on the rooftop of their Malibu home, under fairy lights, Jackson knelt down and opened a small velvet box. Celeste shook her head but then laughed. "You didn't even ask yet."